listening right now.
You look like a sportscaster.
I feel like one of these
Do
headphones.
you?
But they're the best. These are the two best sounding microphones that we have in our collection of 4. And I can't do the stick mic. I would actually like the stick mic, but I have to use 2 hands when I'm like fading stuff and doing stuff on the computer.
He's making his job sound a lot more important than it
I
actually
know.
is.
Well, I'm producing the show, which
You
in
are.
radio is hilarious. And really, if like when I worked at AM 1500, producing really meant you ran the board and maybe talked back and forth with the host. And like at WCCO, producing meant you called the guests and booked them and just told the host who he was going to talk to that day. Like it was completely reversed from what I did.
Okay,
And
I have a
what
question.
I did was much easier.
I have a question about producing, because I don't think producing is that easy. I don't mean to make your job not sound important, because it is. We wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for you.
Aw.
But, so on a big morning show like KQ, where they have an archive of thousands of sound bites, you know, kind of their classic things they use over
Yeah,
and
their
over again.
drops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. How does the producers, how are they so quickly able to pull up the exact right soundbite when it's like, they're not, it's not planned. They're, it's just a
Right,
going
off the
back and
cuff.
forth. It's totally off the cuff.
No, okay. I used to be one of my favorite things to do was during the news, during Michigan. Well, not during Michigan actually. During Michigan, I'd let him do it because he was the funny guy.
Right.
But when I was on anybody else's show, like when I was doing like Dave Thompson or A.L. Brown or any of these guys, I could do whatever I wanted during the news. It was fun, especially in the later hours. And I did that. And the key to it is, especially a top 40 radio station or any top market radio station is going to have what they have is a button bar. And I mean, I literally had 10 pages worth of, say, 10 by 8 boxes. So you got 80 on each page, something like that.
Okay.
And you got 10 pages. So I've got 800 sound effects I
Right.
can have. And what you do is you take your very favorites, the ones you use all the time, and they're on page 1, and then if you have any idea what's coming up in the newscast, you might already have an idea.
Okay.
Especially morning shows, they
You try and
do
plan it a
have-
little bit.
They know what's coming at least a little bit. At least like they know what the story is.
Sure.
Or they might even have an idea of what, Bernard's punchline is going to be. So they already have something kind of, in store. But no, I mean, it's just a talent, and it's just all of the real talent is having it just grouped right so that you just have the best drops ever just
Right.
always at your fingertips. And then sometimes you do have to dig a little. I mean, you do have to go for some. And it was the funniest is when like Mishki would be like, oh, hold on, like got up. Okay, then he'd play it, because
Yeah.
he'd have to go find it. And I think I've heard like Suchere do that kind of stuff too. So
Well, whoever
but
does
it
it
is
on
a
the morning
talent.
show is really.
No.
I don't know who's producing the morning show right now.
I have no idea either. 'Cause
I
you
never
said
know who's
Zep's at
behind.
night now, right?
Yeah, I think he's at night. He
Yeah.
switched off. I don't know who's on board
And
now.
I've never really knew what was going on at KQ. I don't know behind the
Well,
scenes there.
it's a big crew there,
Yeah.
and sometimes Tom's in, sometimes he's out. Different locations. I don't know.
No, but in along that same line, the guy who impresses me with that, he nails it too, is Bald Brian on Corolla's show.
On Corolla's show, yeah.
His drops are money, and he almost always grabs one from the current show too. So he'll always grab like the news gal saying something completely out of context, and then that always ends up being a drop later on too. So
How is
no,
the
that
news
is an
gal
art.
doing, by the way? We haven't checked in on
We
that for
haven't
a while.
talked about that.
I haven't listened.
I'm not a fan. I'm down on the show in general. It's just
Yeah.
she doesn't add anything. He's like the thing that Rosen brought was we know what Adam Carolla is. He's a curmudgeon. He's a pissed off righty that wants to complain. I mean, he literally has a game called What Can't Adam Complain About? I mean, that's his thing. And that's cool, and that's what's funny about him. But you need a balance. You need somebody else in there. Like,
Sure.
Bald Brian's much more positive, but he also he adds on with them.
Sure.
And the thing about Rosen that was cool is she didn't just go with the add-on, which Carolla is all about improv is all about yes and. And sometimes she would go, no, but. And he didn't like that, but I thought it added to the show. And it was usually really funny, too. Like, she was and the thing with the new news gal is she's always just trying to add on to Adam's joke, and it's usually never funny. It's like you either got to be your own and she's, don't get me wrong, she's in the worst position ever. She's the new gal after the other gal just got fired for not doing exactly what I just said, being yes and. So it's really tough for her. I feel so badly for her. I'm not anti Gina Grad, which is her name, but so far not so good. But you got to give her some time. What a weird role to be thrown into.
For sure.
We got to start out with some really sad and fucked up news, but this is topic A, and I want to talk about it mostly because you just got off an airplane, a couple of them, I would imagine. I'm about to jump on one in a couple weeks.
You are.
I've thought of every possible scenario of a plane going
I got
down.
my Xanax prescription ready if you need any.
I might have.
I went. I did pretty well. I don't do well the way to a vacation. Like when I get on the plane to the vacation, I'm like, okay, deep breaths. Like you're fine. Have a glass of wine. Like chill out. On the way back, I'm usually relaxed. I'm like, all right, I've seen my family. I've had that good vacation. So if I die, it's like a less of a letdown because I've already had my good vacation, right?
And you're on your way home.
I'm on
That's
my
more
way
of a
home.
relaxing feeling than when you're
Sure.
because there's no matter where you're going, like you're going to visit your family, but there's still that anticipation. There's a little on edge,
yeah.
the uneasiness.
Did I
You're
pack
leaving
everything?
home.
Did I do
like,
this? Blah, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah,
yeah.
blah.
What did I forget? All that kind
Right.
of stuff. And
So-
especially when you're on the plane, that is when you realize what you forgot. You know,
Yes.
it's in the fucking.
I never
it's in the
forget
check-in.
anything, though. If you would like my packing tips as well, I have very good packing tips. I've never forgotten anything on a trip, and I've never lost anything on a trip.
I'm actually pretty good at it too.
Are
and
you?
I'm also like I'm not going to check any bags. I didn't do any bags, and I do the the little roller
Yeah.
carry on, and I do a backpack, and I can
You're
get
good
in.
to go. That's
I
what
can
I
do a
do,
week
too.
on that, and I'm going for 4 days. So.
That's what I do too.
And
Except I did
that's
check.
the way to do it.
I did
You
check.
did check?
Well,
I
to
hate waiting for
Arizona,
that.
so I didn't check on the way there, and then I had my dog. I had my dog's bag. I had my work computer, which you have to take out of the bag to put on the thing. So I had a purse. I had a rollie.
Put on
I
the
had
X-ray
a computer.
machine. You have to take it out of the cotton bag.
out of the bag.
can't
So I
understand
had the computer, I had my rolly bag, I had my purse, I had my dog, I had my dog's bag, and you have to take off your fucking shoes. So I'm like stumbling, and thankfully my family was with me, so I had some help. But man, on the way back, I was like, you know what? I'm already paying a ridiculous amount for the dog. Throw in the
Yeah,
fucking
what's the
check
other
fee,
25, 50
get rid
bucks
of
or
my
whatever?
computer, get rid of my bag, whatever.
Yeah,
So
I guess I don't plan on bringing a computer. Maybe I can steal my sister's tablet, but I don't want. I'm not going to bring the laptop, so I'll avoid that part of it. What I really just need is a pot brownie for before.
that sounds
Just to
terrifying.
just pass out on that thing.
No.
Well, after this, now let's get to it.
Okay.
So after a guy decides to, co-pilot of a plane, just decides to fly it into the fucking French Alps at 430 miles an hour. This was not a thought I worried about. This was not something that it crossed my mind.
You
Terrorism,
really
sure.
You really don't have to worry about technical failure anymore. Like it's not.
It's almost not a thing.
It's not really a
Well,
thing.
but what happened with the Malaysian flights, though?
I
Aren't they
think
kind
really
of saying
fucked
that?
up with that happened. Here goes me into conspiracy theory.
Ooh, here we go.
I know,
Reverse
but
roles.
I'm concerned of these last few flights that have gone down as of recent that are too much of a mystery for modern day flying and technology. We don't know what happened to them, and something is strange that we don't know. With Malaysia Airlines and with Lufthansa, the German Wings flight, neither of them had distress calls. And the second that news came out, I was like, this isn't good. Like, no distress call. Something is fishy. You know, they were trying to come up with all these theories, like Malaysian Airlines, like, loss of cabin pressure, and they passed out. That, you know, that
doesn't
is
happen.
that
There's
is
so many backups for that.
totally. And that, you know, so anyway, I kind of was worried when I heard that news that
Did you have a theory? Did you think, this might have been what happened? I just figured the thing crashed. I didn't really even think there was any kind of conspiracy to it. I guess I didn't really read much about it at first, though.
When I heard there was a distress call similar to the Malaysian Airlines flight, I thought something is strange that the pilots didn't react and there wasn't any sort of there wasn't the normal emergency things that go
Counter
on.
actions and trying to land somewhere else. and that
Right,
kind of
right.
stuff. Which they were being offered. Like the guys were saying, like if you have an issue, you can land here. We'll clear this runway for you. Like that was all going on.
Communication with different airports and so yeah, that was. I thought something along the lines of somebody crashed it on purpose. I did. And that's how I feel about the Malaysian Airlines flight. I think that something was very strange about that. I don't know the reasons for these things. They're not calling it terrorism at this point. They're, the guy maybe lost his mind.
Well, they're pointing toward possible depression, which
God,
is an
depression.
interesting angle on this.
Shit.
Right.
Go jump off a bridge, man.
Well, and that's why,
get to Dusseldorf and then go jump off a bridge in Dusseldorf.
And that's why the people that are in charge of this, like the investigation, are saying they don't call this a suicide. You don't take 149 other souls with you in a suicide. I think this opens up a lot of issues, though. First being, like I said, well, okay, let's just make sure for anybody who's listening that if you haven't heard this whole story, just the two pilots in this. This is a German airline.
It's because
it's coming from Barcelona to Germany or something.
Barcelona to Dusseldorf. It was a German Wings flight.
Okay.
Which I believe is owned by Lufthansa or Lufthansa.
Yeah, I kept seeing that name too.
Yep.
Okay, so in America,
which is a really great safe airline.
Sure.
Yeah.
In America, I think most of us kind of understand now that you've always got two pilots in the cockpit. That's a rule here ever since 9/11, and I think that's mostly just so you got backup.
I think generally there's always been known that there's a pilot and a co-pilot, and then back in the day there was another guy who would be doing the directions. Did you ever see Airplanes? That's like one of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, the blow-up doll behind him. You mean?
The blow-up doll.
No, I know he ended up becoming that guy.
Who's the basketball star that played in that?
Wasn't that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Yeah, and the little kid goes, he goes, "You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar," and he's like, "I'm not Kareem Abdul-Jabbar."
Great movie, by the way. To make light of this, but I mean, great movie. But so what I find interesting about this is now they're pointing toward this was because of depression. That this guy, he apparently missed some time in his training, took a break because he had kind of a mental breakdown. Just kind of got was burnt out. I think was the expression I saw in the Daily Mail or something. And
burnt out, man. All right, keep going.
Okay, here's where I'm going. I'm not going too far with it, but I have been burnt out. I've been depressed. I've never contemplated. I've been in a position where I could take out other people. I mean, I drive down the road every day. I don't know where. I don't think you can blame this on that. And I think it's kind of scary that we're almost already blaming the airline for allowing this guy to fly. When my point being is sometimes fucking shit is crazy. People just go nuts.
Yeah,
we don't have to now have psycho evaluations of every single pilot to every fly a plane. Like how many times does this happen?
I think a general background check on psychological history is fine. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the questionnaire being filled out or doctor's records being sent in that say this person is. I don't really know what they could do with that though. Just from.
I think this guy would have passed what I think you are saying you are okay with. You know what I mean?
Like have you ever dealt with anxiety? Have you ever dealt with depression? Have you ever had suicidal thoughts? That type of thing. I don't know what they would.
95% of people. I think. Most people have gone through a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely.
Whether how long of a period of time.
Yeah,
and all that
exactly.
Is
so what do you? If someone answers yes to those answers. To those questions, what's the course of action after that? You know what I mean? Do they have to go into their doctor every 3 months if they're going to be an airline pilot and have the doctor sign off and say yes they're fine or no they're having suicidal thoughts and they need to. So anyway.
Well, no, and I'm not worried about it personally. I'm not going to become a pilot anytime soon. But
and I think this is a very rare case.
This is super rare. But what we do when something like this happens is we overreact. That's why you still have to take your fucking shoes off because one guy decided to have shoe bombs, which was a really great idea, by the way.
Shoe bombs.
The shoe bomber.
I know. And the water. You can't have the fucking liquid.
Yeah.
You have to put I have to put my lotion. I'm complaining because I don't mind doing it because I know that it's. The point is of safety, and I already have such a fear that I'm kind of okay with overreacting when it comes to things like this where I have no control over the situation. Like, if I had control over the situation, like with seatbelts, like, if you don't want to wear your seatbelt, don't wear your fucking seatbelt. You know what I mean? But for me, when you're getting on a flight with all these other people, I'm okay with it being a little more overreactive.
I'm not saying we should just say, screw it, no security, everybody flies at your own risk, but, I mean... We have gone very... overboard. Yes,
very overboard.
They don't need to check whether or not you have 4 ounces or 5 ounces of lotion. That is not going to change whether or not the plane blows up. They don't need to even really check you, probably. But that's where I'm just worried that there's going to be some kind of overreaction and I don't know where this goes. And it's usually going to fucking affect us, the consumer, too.
Right.
Like, there's always something where, like we're talking about now, you got the long lines of security, and I know first world, white people problems, blah, 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 but it is just, we always do this. We always take it too far, and this probably was just a freak incident with a freaked out dude who, and it's creepy, if you guys haven't heard the whole story too, like, he doesn't say a word. And he's completely breathing calmly because you can hear the cockpit. There's cockpit audio.
Did he have a heart attack or was he having some? No, he was calm.
As far as they know, he was completely conscious and completely.
Man, how do you keep? Even if I was having a mental breakdown and I was like, "Here we go, just gonna fly this." I mean, I'd be like sweating balls.
It took 8 minutes.
That's
After
a long
minute
time.
5, I'm pulling that fucker up.
I've
already thought about it for 5 minutes.
What you're doing.
Way too long. After 60 seconds, I'm going, what am I doing? Let him in. I'll knock the door.
Oh, man, this guy must have gone into some weird-ass comatose, mental breakdown state. Who knows?
It's crazy.
The brain is a crazy thing, man.
The whole point is just that I'm so... all the things, crashing into a mountain, crashing into the ocean, malfunctions, like you said, that stuff's the stuff that we're used to and you expect when you get on a flying machine that goes 400 miles an hour.
Engine noise?
Yeah, it shouldn't work. I mean, the whole concept of flying is kind of crazy in and of itself.
It's insane. You're putting this huge, massive, however many ton piece of metal into the air.
Right.
It shouldn't work. It does, and it's pretty safe. It's
right.
very safe.
But now we got to worry about suicidal, or whatever you want to call this, suicidal, homicidal maniacs flying the plane, apparently. But hopefully there's not too many of those.
I hope
like
not
you
either.
said, this is a freak accident.
You hope it's a freak accident, and
to.
and you hope that we've put the things in place so we don't have to go any more overboard than to stop, terrorists as well. I mean, from September 11th.
Yeah.
That type of. I mean, the cockpit door is bulletproof now, and it has extra security, so you can't get into it, which is the craziest part.
And the best part, and of course, worst part in this scenario is that you can get in from the outside, but you can't if the person inside hits the right security code and make sure you can't. So if the pilot decides to go nuts, you're fucked. Your plane is going down.
Right.
And actually, the last note to throw in here, it's very, very sick and sad, but it doesn't sound like anybody really realized what was going on until the very end. Obviously, I'm assuming the pilot and the crew, other than the other co-pilot in the
I'm sure they were trying to break down that door for a while.
Yeah, but it sounds like there were no screams. I think that they just didn't know what he was doing. They were like, why aren't you letting us in there? I don't think anybody really knew, because it was a slow descent. I don't think it was a real, he didn't just go into a nosedive. But yeah, at some point they did. But again, the official came out and said today that the people were just basically screaming at the very end.
No.
430 miles an hour into a fucking mountain. But hey, let's try to find a bright side. That is a good way to go. That is fucking as instant as it gets.
Sure, it's fucking instant.
If it only is those 30 seconds that you have to think about it. If it's 8 minutes, no, that's horrible. That's fucking god-awful. I'd rather boil to death, I think.
Fear. Yeah. You die in horrible fear. That is my biggest fear, is dying in fear. That's what terrifies. It's not even necessarily.
You're afraid of being afraid?
I'm afraid of my last moments of life being horrible.
No. Yeah, well, I mean, I think we all want to die in our sleep, right? Because that's just
I don't think I want to die in my sleep.
You don't?
No, I think I want to die when I'm happy in my bed, surrounded by people, talking. All right, see you guys later.
Oh, so you're hoping for that one death where it's everybody's around, you're still coherent, your grandkids or grandkids are there, and then you just kind of fade away.
I'm morphined enough where I'm smiling and I'm oh, okay, bye.
Well, yeah, my grandma went through that, and she was also telling me there was somebody on the building across the street,
she probably saw somebody. My grandma did that too, but my grandma I think saw some. I think my grandma was talking to people that she saw.
Over,
for sure, yeah. Definitely.
I just thought she was insane.
No, I think part of it could be a little dream state, but I think some of it is actually letting go.
God, I hadn't even thought of that.
And someone saying, my grandma said some pretty interesting stuff when she was dying.
It's such a weird age.
Very acknowledging people that were not here any longer, saying hi to them. It was really interesting. And it was really calming as well. It was it wasn't scary, it wasn't strange. It was I was a little scared because I was so young, but it was for the rest of my family that wasn't totally, freaked out by death anymore. I think it was a calming experience for them.
I'm still going to go for In My Sleep. That's what I'm
okay.
We'll be right back. Right back on the Minnesota Pubcast.
Reach for this one.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back online.
Just turn it on. That took a very PG direction.
Along comes this hit show.
I'm constantly burping on stage.
Hey, you heard about Madonna, right?
Twin Cities hit show with Rusty, Courtney, and Chuck.
Had she fallen to the ground and her eyes rolled into the back of her head, what would you, Tim Mahoney, have done?
I'd have tried to make out with her.
Nice.
Get in line.
The Twin Cities hit show with Rusty, Courtney, and Chuck airs live daily, 9:30 to 10:30 on the Alive and Social Network.
Ever swallowed a bug or choke like Courtney on stage?
Yeah. I meant to do this.
With Suhan Unfiltered, sports columnist for the Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Jim Suhan presents in-depth conversations with the best writers and sports personalities in the area. Suhan brings professional journalism flavor without the verbal censoring. Find out what unfiltered really means. Only on the Alive and Social Network. SuhanUnfiltered.com.
but everyone can still hear you. Kind of. Anyway, we're back. How you doing?
Heather.
What was your comment on this one?
No, I honestly, I couldn't. I didn't remember that this was Incubus.
Oh, okay.
And so I looked at your phone and I was like, oh, yeah, that's Incubus.
I thought
can't
that was
remember
like pretty much like their quintessential
It
song.
is their quintessential
So, okay,
song. But, to be honest, back in that age when I was very into a specific type of music, and I still liked that music, but I wasn't into it, it all kind of blends in for me a little bit.
I suppose.
Like sometimes when I hear like Goo Goo Dolls versus, I don't know who else kind
All
of
that
sounds
shit
like them.
sounds the same to me,
It kind of sounds the same, unless you were a
Third Eye
big
Blind
fan.
and- Yeah.
Like I was never a huge Incubus fan.
See, and I wasn't a huge Incubus fan, but I did go see them because my sister went to St. Cloud, and they played up at St. Cloud while she was going to school. And a buddy of mine went up there, and they played like the gymnasium up there. It's probably 1,500 people.
Do
It was
people still
fucking
play
awesome.
in gymnasiums?
I don't think so, but in 2006 or whatever they did,
I remember playing in my gymnasium. Battle of the Bands in my gymnasium.
Really?
Oh, so cool.
I remember. Oh, high school.
It
I
was
do
so
remember that.
cool.
That was cool, actually.
And I
of course, I never played them.
showed up, and I was wearing like a weed sweatshirt, even though I really didn't smoke any weed. And I was wearing like aviators.
Fucking poser.
And I skateboarded and I snowboarded. I hung out at the board park.
Did you play SEPA?
Did I play SEPA? No, I didn't play SEPA.
Yeah, you're a poser. No, I'm just kidding.
Such a poser.
Well, speaking of SEPA, what a segue. Soccer. I think kind of relate. You may have heard or may not have heard.
I think we're talking about two different generations.
What do you mean?
Jason, you're 8 years older than me.
I'm very old. I know. And
we didn't really play
were the
SEPA
last
in my day.
We were the last generation to do that.
I think so.
And I think that's a good thing. Because kids have, iPads and shit now to play with at lunch break. And we had nothing. We had 15, 20 minutes to kill. What else are you going to do? You're going to kick a hacky sack at each other.
You know what we did a lot of, which I kind of miss? We did a lot of Foursquare. As in
high school?
The ball game. No, middle school. And
yeah, because we did that in elementary.
I feel like kids don't do Foursquare anymore.
No, I bet not. No, because you got elaborate playgrounds and nice fields to play sports on.
We had nice playgrounds, but I really enjoyed a good Foursquare game.
I actually do really miss Foursquare. That was a good game.
Foursquare was really fun.
I'll have to show that to my nephew and beat the shit out of him in it.
I like it.
So we got MLS is supposedly, and I'll put that in quotes, but they're at least supposedly coming to Minnesota. Now, do you understand? Is it going to be the team we already have, but they're just being brought into the MLS? I think that was the way I understood.
Do you want me to text a soccer friend?
Yeah, no, do it. Yeah, get your soccer expert on the horn.
I'll text Marone.
Because, either way, it sounds like MLS wants to come. They want to build a stadium in the Minneapolis Farmers Market, and that's great. I love the idea. I will go to soccer games. I've been to a United game or two. I think I only went to one. But if they had a cool stadium in the cities, that would be way better than driving all the way up to Blaine to go watch soccer. So I'm all for this, and it sounds like I think the Twin Cities are all for this. Minneapolis is all for it, but the governor is not necessarily on board when it comes to building the stadium.
Okay, I'm not going to, just to be devil's advocate here, soccer fans are big fans. All around the world, soccer fans are the biggest fans, right?
Yeah.
I have friends that are really into soccer, and they're really dedicated to it. I like it. I don't know much about soccer. It's fun to watch. Anyway, are they just being extra vocal about this issue, and is everyone else just not really caring? Like, is it a small sect of people who really care?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the hardcores.
But
if you have...
This is what Marone said. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
He said it's the minor league team being promoted to the majors.
Yeah. So it is a step up. But we're keeping the same team. It's just they're being allowed to step up into a relevant league, which is cool. That's a very cool thing.
New players then?
I don't think so. I think they might now. They'll have different. They'll probably have some kind of a draft. Now they have access to the MLS draft, so I think they would get some new players that way. But I think in general, you would start with the same team and build from there. Again, I have no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
Is it minor league because of the money? Because they're not classified a certain way, not because of the talents of the players.
No, it was the type of league they were in.
Okay.
It was just a minor league. If you had ever been to their stadium, it was pretty cool actually, but probably seats 2,000 people, and it's all outdoor. There's no roof or anything. It's just an outdoor park, field, whatever, pitch. But it's a cool place. But it's actually has a little pavilion where they sell beer and stuff and everything. It's actually kind of sweet.
Pavilion.
Yeah, what a word, huh? But again, for the people, and I'm not hardcore, but I'm a big enough fan to where I would absolutely love to go to downtown Minneapolis to go catch a game, and especially because you always see these MLS teams playing like teams from the Premier League or bigger worldwide teams. So if Chelsea comes here and plays as our team,
Oh, that'd be
I'm
so
at that.
cool.
And I, we talked about it. What was I talking about the other day? Because they said, they want a 20,000 seat stadium or even smaller, I think, because and they don't want to play at the Vikings' new stadium because that's 65,000.
But you don't want it to feel empty. Yeah, you don't want it to feel empty. You want it to feel like it's full and it's loud and exciting. And I'm sure they could probably sell out about that size.
Side note, that's why the girls' high school hockey should be played at Ritter and not at the fucking X. I mean, it sounds terrible. It sounds like it's an echo. Like you can hear the puck echo across the building.
You're talking about college?
No, I'm talking about the high school hockey. Because the boys' high school, they fucking fill that place, which is crazy. We are really into our hockey in this state. But
you watch those high school teams, though. They are so fucking good.
No, I love watching the high school hockey.
Better than any other. I can't watch high school football anymore. I can't watch. It's unlike any other high school sport, and even college sports sometimes. Whoa, is that?
You know what? I bet Suhan's trying to do a show.
Oh,
we might have to pause this. Hold on a second. You keep talking.
All right. I mean, unlike any other sport, you get kind of the talent before anything else. Okay, and update from my friend Marone. Thank you, Marone. He said for the new Minnesota soccer team, minor league being promoted to the majors, it's the same name, but who knows about the players. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in a bunch of new talent. So there you go. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that, because I'm not really the biggest soccer fan, but I would probably go watch soccer.
All right, sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just talking about, I was answering Marone's text.
Okay, good. All right, well, people don't know when we do our show, so we have to take a break. And if you're listening live, you'll have to tune in about a half an hour to catch the second half of this show, because we are going to sign off and allow Jim Suhan and Michael Russo, who I would absolutely get out of the way for anytime, to do their show live, because they are the big ticket. So we're going to sign off right now. Like I said, we'll have the second half of this show up as soon as we are done. But right now we are going into recorded mode. Thanks for listening, and catch the second half in a little bit.